We'll get started in about 1 minute. Thank you all for joining. Welcome to ASBPA's annual meeting. Thank you so much for joining us today on this virtual webinar annual meeting. My name is Derek Brockbank. I'm the Executive Director of ASBPA, and I'm coming to you live from my home office in Washington, D.C., where it is a beautiful fall afternoon. Hope you're all enjoying the same afternoon, and to our friends on the Gulf Coast, particularly in Louisiana, we are wishing you well with the impending storms coming. We are really glad to have this opportunity to talk to you today about ASBPA's annual meeting. I'm going to cover just a couple sort of overview of how this is going to work, and then we'll sort of dive in. So the purpose of American Shore and Beach Preservation's annual meeting is threefold. First and foremost, according to our bylaws, we have to elect the board of directors via an annual meeting, and so this will serve that purpose. And so one of the first things we'll be doing is doing an election of new board directors, and our secretary Gary Jones will be presiding over that. Another important aspect of our annual meeting is the opportunity to share the work that we've been doing over the past year with you, our members, so you understand and know what we're doing and how we are operating as an organization. And then third, and what I think we have a good opportunity to do this year, is get feedback from you. Often we host our annual meetings at a conference, and it's a bunch of us on stage and we're talking, but there's no responsiveness. But Zoom changed all that. And so we hope you will participate. If you are unfamiliar with Zoom webinars, the feature is a little bit different than Zoom meetings. So if you're an attendee, you can't speak, or you can't accidentally put yourself on video, so you don't have to worry about that. But the best way for you to participate is through the chat function, as well as through the question and answer function. So throughout this meeting, we'll be including some information in that chat function. So you might want to open that up so you can see as we present that. And you're also going to be encouraged to respond or share information in that chat bar too, everybody. So thank you for doing that. If you do have specific questions for us, you can enter those in your question and answer function. We have a pretty packed agenda, so we don't plan on answering questions very much as we go, but we will extend the annual meeting past our 5 o'clock Eastern time to do a question and answer, an informal question and answer at the very end. So if you have questions, we'll be tracking those and we'll be responding at the end. So again, thank you for joining. The agenda for the day we'll kick off with a president's address. So Tony Pratt will give you sort of a state of the ASBPA. The next thing we'll be hosting our election of board members. And as I mentioned, Gary Jones, our secretary, will be presiding over that. And that will be done via a poll function. So when we get to that time, we will open up a poll. You'll see a poll on your screen and you'll have an opportunity to vote for the board of directors. And there'll be two questions, one for incumbent board members being re-elected and one for new board members being elected for the first time. So please do answer both of those questions in the poll function. Next, we will do a presentation with Nicole Elko, our science director, and myself, giving you an update on what ASBPA has been working on in both science technology, government affairs, outreach, and communication. I'll share a little update on staffing transition. Then we'll turn to our awards committee chair to announce some of our internal and student awards this year. Folks we are very excited to honor. We'll give a quick update on some of our upcoming events, including our National Coastal Conference, which is coming up next week, as well as some short courses, and then what we are looking ahead to in 2021. And then we'll wrap up with results of the board election and a quick wrap up, and then we will take question and answer and have sort of an open discussion if anyone is interested in sticking around after 5 p.m. So that is the agenda for today. Thank you again so much for joining us. If you do have to get off early, please stay on. We'll be able to get to the board election within the next 10 or 15 minutes. So please stay on at least through that. And we hope you can stay on for the full hour We've got a pretty tight agenda, and I think you should enjoy it. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our president, Tony Pratt, to give you sort of an overview of state of ASBPA. So Tony, take it away.
Okay, Derek, thank you very much. And it's a very much an honor and a privilege to be here with you all today. I really do wish we were meeting in person. It's so much more fun because most of you would want to take your board out to have a beer after this and enjoy all the work, celebrate all the work that they've done in the past year. This has been a very strange year for us in many, many ways. I look at the membership of ASBPA as being folks of extraordinary intelligence, insight, energy, and creativity. And so when we as practitioners who have fought for resilient communities find our community, the ASBPA community, needing to look into ways to become resilient and productive in the midst of the pandemic. No one can travel. Most of us have been working from home. It's been a very strange year. And I think as practitioners who have dedicated ourselves to resiliency, we have demonstrated that above and beyond my expectations. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I know the depth of talent that exists within our organization. But to have come out of this year with what I believe is wonderful product, and I mean product in the way of Shore and Beach, the newsletter, the website, the various committee works that are being done by so many talented people on science and technology and membership and best restored beaches and any number of things. Kate's got a message up here. She can't hear me. Did you unmute me, Derek? Can you hear me all right? I got a message on my screen that says,
yeah.
Kate. Yeah.
I can hear you. I think you're coming in clear.
All right. Okay, good. Kate's got, all right, good. Everybody's saying they can hear me. Good. Kate couldn't for some reason. I don't know why. Sorry about that. Anyway, what I was saying was, you know, we are practicing what we preach, nimbleness, creativity, resiliency, prepared for the worst and responded to it with alternative ways. We mitigated the problem that was in front of us. And I think that this conference that we're about to undertake next week is a really good example. It's really an outstanding event. I'm proud of all of you. I'm not going to belabor the point, but I think that you all as members deserve to be congratulated for your perseverance and your creativity, and as many of you as possible that can participate in our various committees, engage yourselves in the work that is done at so many levels in ASBPA. I encourage you. It's very rewarding. Looking back over a career that I've been very proud of, it's a very rewarding endeavor, and it gives you tremendous companionship. You meet great people, you do great work, and it's very rewarding. So I want to welcome you. I want to turn it back over to Derek for the rest of the annual meeting, and look forward to seeing you all in person in the near future, but not right now. Thanks very much, Derek.
Thanks, Tony. And we'll turn right to Gary Jones to run our election.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Tony. Gary Jones, current secretary of the association. Hi, everyone. And this year's chair of the nominating committee. I'd like to quickly thank my fellow committee members, Brian Caulfield, Tiffany Roberts-Briggs, Ruben Trevino, Lee Wisher, and for also Kate Gooderham's staff assistance in our tasks this year. I'll try and run through very quickly, but our board of directors forms the heartbeat of the association. So it is an important task of the membership that we ask each year to elect those that are asking to be stand for re-election and those that are standing for the first time. And we do have 3 board members that are stepping down. And so I'd like to extend my best wishes and thanks to them. That's Linda Lillycrop, Michael Wolfer, and Tamara Piggott. And also we've had a couple of chapter president changes. So my thanks and our thanks to Dolan Eversole, the Hawaii former chapter president, and welcome to Andrew Wickert, the incoming president, and also thanks to Taylor Zimmerman of the students chapter, and welcome to Nicole Zuck. So before you on the screen is the slate of candidates. On the left-hand side, you have the names of 8 incumbent board directors that are standing for re-election. And on the right-hand side, the names of 6 new candidates standing for election for the first time. As Derek mentioned earlier, Annie has put up a link on the chat function to our website, and a link to the bios for each of the candidates. Thank you, Derek. Directors are elected by a majority vote. The term of office is a 3-year term, and typically 1/3 of directors are up for election each year at the annual meeting. Votes will be tallied from proxies and the ballots cast. And as Derek mentioned, in a few moments, a ballot will appear on your screen. It will give you the opportunity to vote in a number of ways. You can vote for the slate of incumbent candidates, or you can make your selection accordingly individually, and similarly for the new candidates, either the slate recommended or individually. We will then tally those votes as the rest of the meeting is conducted, and I'll come back very quickly before the end of the meeting to provide the results, and we'd ask if you could please complete that ballot as quickly as possible. As we said, it's quite straightforward, and in fact, it's just coming up on your screens now. So with that, I would like to now then, while you cast your ballots, now to turn over to our Science Director, Nicole Elko. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole Elko. I am the Science Director for the American Shore and Beach Preservation Association, coming to you live from Folly Beach, South Carolina this afternoon. And I'm going to start us off by telling you a little bit about the ASBPA mission. I think you all may have a good understanding of our mission and what we advocate for, but I thought that we could just give you a quick overview to start out this piece. Next slide. So we're dedicated to preserving, protecting, and enhancing our coasts by merging science and public policy. And Derek and I will be telling you a little bit about both of those today, the science and government affairs pieces of the organization. We do this advocating for healthy, sustainable, and resilient coastal systems to sustain 4 interconnected core values provided by U.S. beaches and shores, and those are community protection, a strong economy, ecological health, and recreation. So now I'm going to go into an update of what our Science and Technology Committee has been up to. I staff that committee, and our chair of the Science and Technology Committee is Tiffany Briggs from Florida Atlantic University, and I extend a great thank you and acknowledgement to Tiffany for all that she does for us. So I'm going to focus on, tell you about 2 areas of focus today. If you hit the advance button one more time on that, please, thank you. The first is the U.S. Coastal Research Program, which is a national coastal effort to coordinate federal activities, strengthen academic programs, and address coastal community needs. ASBPA has been helping to support the U.S. Coastal Research Program since its formation in 2016. It's a really cool program. It is not congressionally mandated. It is kind of grassroots organization that has a research to application to user mission. And that mission is reflected in the organization's 450 members and leadership teams. So I serve as a co-executive director with Julie Rosati from the Army Corps of Engineers and Hillary Stockton from the USGS. The program also has several advisory teams, which include an academic team chaired by Britt Robbenheimer and made up of several academic members, including our director, Brett Webb from the University of South Alabama, as well as a federal team that has been stood up recently, which includes over 13 federal agencies. So this year, ASBPA is going to be helping to stand up USCRP's stakeholder team. And I have a screen grab from the website there. You can go to uscoastalresearch.org to learn more about the upcoming virtual workshops that will be hosted in early January on the coastal research topic of human and ecosystem health. The second thing I'm going to talk to you about today are ASBPA's effort to identify our nation's top coastal management challenges. So if you attended the Florida conference last year, you may have participated in the polling to help identify those top 5 coastal management challenges for our nation. The survey was the result of numerous queries of our Science and Technology Committee, and then our network. Are the slides maybe advancing on the? Thanks. Our network of chapters and partner organizations, including the coastal states organizations. So the results of this will guide future ASBP activities as part of our 3-year strategic plan. And it will also help inform the U.S. Coastal Research Program's future research investments. So I did want to mention that if you'd like to join the Science and Technology Committee, you can sign up by including your name and email in the chat box now. So let me tell you about what you're seeing on the screen here. This, and I wanted to just take a few minutes during this annual meeting to brief you on the outcomes of this coastal management challenges, because it's been something we've been working on for over 2 years now. We received funding from USGS to do this. And as I said, it's going to guide a lot of what we do in the future. So one of our questions was, what is a stakeholder? Who are we going to ask what their coastal management challenges are to help inform this effort? So you can see on the left there, when we asked the survey respondents to categorize their affiliation, the majority of responses were from industry and local community representatives, followed by the academic sector and then state agencies. Most of those respondents self-identified as program managers, administrators, planners, and engineers. And then the pie chart shows where they're coming from in the US. So regionally, the majority of the respondents were from the Southeast, which we kind of expected. Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia is what you see as the navy blue Southeast pie. There's the Florida slice, which represented about 16%. Then we also note we had representatives from the West and the Gulf Coast, about 11%. There was a response from Alaska in the West Coast region, and 6% of the respondents were from Hawaii. So overall, these 134 respondents to the survey really suggested a group that represented, I should say, U.S. coastal managers, right? So we feel pretty confident that our stakeholders are giving us a really nice, well-rounded perspective. So next slide. So this is the much anticipated list of our top 5 coastal management challenges. I'm pleased to roll this out at today's annual meeting. You can read through the list there. But what I wanted to point out here was that, this survey was taken by members of organizations like ASBPA that traditionally focus on beachfront management challenges. So we kind of expected this inherent bias toward challenges like beach erosion. However, deteriorating ecosystems, increased storminess, and sea level rise were the 3 most commonly mentioned management challenges overall. Chronic beach erosion came in number 4. So there appears to be a shift in the top management challenges in our community of practitioners from chronic beach erosion, which was the challenge being addressed when many of these organizations formed, to the water-related challenges of today. These results are consistent with the findings from a similar survey conducted in California in 2016, when the 3 most commonly mentioned management challenges were sea level rise as number 1, coastal erosion, number 2, and water quality as number 3. And water quality is also on our list there. You can see the last bullet. So next slide. And this is the last slide I wanted to just go over with you today, just to show you kind of how we came to that list of the top 5 challenges. This is actually how the numbers came in. So deteriorating ecosystems, increased storminess, and sea level rise, followed by beach erosion. The combined effects of rainfall and surge on urban flooding was actually number 5. So what we did was we combined that flooding topic with the sea level rise topic and called our number 3 challenge coastal flooding. And we're going to look at both the short and the long-term aspects of that. We know they have different physics drivers, but for many communities, that flooding challenge looks a lot the same, whether it's coming from an extreme event or just a nuisance persistent event. And then the last topic being coastal water quality, and we included harmful algal blooms in that. So just to mention, it depended we analyzed all of these results by region. So, if you were from Florida, you responded that harmful algal blooms were a really important topic to you. When we look at the affiliations, which is what we're seeing here. So, what did local community representatives think was most important? And increasing storminess due to climate change was actually the biggest red bar you see in there. And those are the local community responses. So a lot of really interesting data came out of this study. We have a draft report on it now. That's as much detail as I'm going to get into, but we're going to be excited. The committee is reviewing the report now, as are our sponsors, and we'll be releasing these results very soon. And I want to thank you all for your support of this effort in particular and all that our Science and Technology Committee does for ASBPA.
Thank you, Nicole. Really appreciate all the work that you and your committee do. It's been a fantastic year for science and technology, and a lot of good things planned for next year. If you have thoughts about things we should be working on science and technology, please go ahead and post them in the chat. We make no promises that we will get to everything, but we're always interested in hearing from our members, and this is a great time to just post some issues. I'm going to continue now with a quick run through of some of the government affairs work that we accomplished over the past year. So ASBPA's government affairs is, we put together every year a legislative and federal agency agenda. So this is what we hope to accomplish. We recognize it's probably more than we can accomplish, but we do set out some specific goals. And for, again, the second time, we have the same 4 hot topics when we started the year. One is funding for restoration, funding for shore protection, funding for research, funding for projects, all the kind of things that the federal government funds. So that's a key component of what we work on. Another piece is expediting project delivery, and this gets to how do we go from project concept to project implementation quicker. A lot of this has to do with how do we improve permitting timeframes, how do we increase or decrease the time it takes to go through the regulatory process without undermining any environmental review. The third issue is regional planning. And so this has been an effort where we are looking at regional resilience projects. The focus of the past 2 years has really been in the South Atlantic with the South Atlantic Coast Comprehensive Study. Although we've been advocating for the Great Lakes Coastal Study as well. And this is all following up on the North Atlantic Coast Study. We are increasingly starting to push for a West Coast or Pacific Coast regional resilience study coming out of the core too. So that's something we'll be looking at going ahead. The fourth issue really ties in all 3 of these. And so in some ways we felt like it didn't really stand apart because it's aspects of funding, project delivery, and regional planning. But we felt that it was so important that we did decide to define regional sediment management as a sort of co-priority for us for the year. So when we started the year, these were our top priorities. We have some specific policies. If you go to our website, you can find this and look into detail. Just as with science technology, we have a monthly call. If you're interested in participating in that call or just getting our updates on our government affairs committee, please, again, as with science technology, just go ahead and put your name in the chat function right now, and we'll get you added to that listserv. So this is how we entered the year, and then, as with everybody else in the world, we had to change. We found the biggest crisis facing coastal communities this year was actually none of these things. It was addressing the challenges presented by COVID. And so, we had to pivot quickly in the year to address our summit, and we started reaching out in April, right as we were starting to see things shut down, to find out what coastal communities, how beaches were responding to the challenges presented by COVID. And so we did that in a couple ways. We reached out through a survey. We had a pretty good response from our membership in saying, what would an economic stimulus look like to you? What would be helpful to you? Where could you put money on the ground? How could you drive jobs and economic dollars if there was a federal stimulus. We held a couple Zoom webinar or Zoom meetings with some of our beach managers from around the country. We had folks from, from Cape Cod, Massachusetts to Waikiki, Hawaii, providing input on what their needs were. We were seeing that everyone had their own unique challenges, but there were some common themes emerging for what was needed. I think we'll get into this a bit more at our conference next week, but three of the main themes that we heard are they're seeing drastic funding cuts coming from revenue that was evaporating. People weren't going to hotels, people weren't eating at restaurants, and so the local revenue dollars were drying up. We saw an increased cost for beaches due to the necessary things to take care of COVID. So increased cleaning, increased security, keeping people separate, social distancing. And then on top of that, as we started hitting the summer season, we saw just intense crowds. We saw huge crowds coming to the beach. So you had this scenario where you had less funding when you actually needed more funding, and at the same time you had lots of people coming. So ASBPA put together a series of letters that we sent to Congress to ask for both stimulus funding, that economic stimulus funding, and we started off really by asking for some of the sort of infrastructure funding that we often advocate for, which would be, restoring beaches, restoring coastlines, money that could be turned into jobs pretty quickly. But then we also realized that we needed to advocate for funding for simply operations aspects, how beaches could maintain their operations when we were seeing these crowd sizes double from years past. And so we did a little bit of media around it. I had the opportunity to talk to a couple of media outlets to try to build that story in. We have been very involved over the number of years on the Water Resources Development Act. We were able to parlay some of our work on WRDA into asking for increased funding for coastal communities that were facing a real challenge this year. So we were able to make that connection. And ultimately, we put together a toolkit at the beginning of the summer that we hope would help communities advocate for themselves, so that, as you were speaking to your members of Congress, you could make that case for additional funding. So this was something that we really pivoted on a dime for. This was not something we obviously expected to work on at the beginning of the year, but we're very excited to do. I will say, I think our results are pretty mixed. We have, there was obviously a huge stimulus at the beginning of the spring to address coronavirus. Most of that was not geared toward local governments. And I think one of the things we have been pushing for is how do we help local governments who are dealing with these major funding crises. They're seeing more people on their beach, but they're not necessarily seeing the hotel and occupancy stays that drive the funding. I did want to make one quick shout out. We were very blessed this year as we were facing a bit of a financial hole ourselves. Hawaiian Tropic, the sunscreen brand, came to us and made us the recipients of funding from a candle that they were selling online. And so I have to thank Hawaiian Tropic. That helped sort of fill the budget, and it was really tied to how do we help beach communities in this time of need. So a big thank you to Hawaiian Tropic. I'm going to pivot from our government affairs to our communications, outreach, and education effort. This is sort of our public-facing work, and many of you probably know some of this. Presumably you all get our emails, so you at least get those communications. We have really three main communications branches. We have Shore and Beach, which is our peer-reviewed journal, which we put out quarterly. Hopefully you're receiving that. If not, and you're a dues-paying member, please let us know, because you should be. It is both online and in a print publication. We do our monthly Coastal Voice newsletter, so you should receive that in your email inbox too. And for the second year, we've been partnered with the American Shoreline Podcast Network. I host the Capitol Beach. It's a semi-regular sort of monthly podcast on how politicians and policymakers in Washington, D.C. are working on coastal policy. We do have the suite of social media. This is where we post the most timely information. So if you're on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn, we do hope you will follow us there. And of course, next week we'll be using the hashtag ASBPA 2020 for our conference. So please partake, or please join us on social media, and hope you're receiving our communications. We have launched we hosted our Best Restored Beaches for, I think, almost our 20th year, 15th or 20th year this year, and had a couple of beaches, 4 beaches this spring that we awarded Best Restored Beaches. For the second year in a row, we had a Best Restored Shores Award. That was presented actually just announced just a couple weeks ago, and we will be having a presentation for them at the conference next week. So really excited about both these awards. It's a great opportunity for our members and for folks that work on restored shoreline and restored beaches to get some publicity, tell the public what it takes to put these projects together. And we'll be continuing to launch those next year. But the one cool thing I wanted to talk about today, we're actually just, is a bit self-explanatory, was our Coastal Universities Guide. Our Coastal Universities Guide was a project put together by our student and new professionals that outlines all the coastal universities that have coastal programs in the country. And they put together this fantastic video that I'm going to play and hopefully should come through. So let's see.
The study of coastal science began to thrive in the 1940s. It was during this time that researchers from fields such as marine geology, oceanography, and engineering, and even society as a whole, started to recognize the importance of addressing beach erosion, shoreline resiliency, and other coastal issues. Back then, coastal scientists worked hard to determine how our coasts were changing and how we must adapt to these changes. But that was then, and this is now. Now we know that sea levels are rising. Now we have the technology that can make our beaches sustainable. And now, more than ever before, we could use someone like you. Click the link below to start your journey today towards a career in coastal science.
Oops, sorry. So hopefully I got someone noting they couldn't hear it, but if you can't, please go online. If you click on Coastal Universities Guide on our website, it's under Get Involved. It's also right on the homepage. It's a great resource. We've had a lot of support for it. You can search for undergraduate programs, graduate programs. You can search for oceanography, coastal engineering, coastal geology, coastal policy. There's a lot of different functions in there. We have, I think at this point, well over 100 universities. And if your alma mater or your university is not included, there's a link right on the website for you to enter that information and it'll get uploaded. Our students and new professionals have been just fantastic about making sure new programs get uploaded. So it's as up to date as you can help us make. So big thank you to all our folks, to all our staff, and all our volunteers who've made all this great progress. So thank you very much. I'm going to do one final sort of note and then pass it on. I just did want to share a little bit about our staff. We are a small staff because a lot of us aren't full time, but we did have over 6 different people working for ASBPA staff this year. You've heard from Nicole Elko, our science director. I'm our executive director, so I believe I'm the only one who's 100% full-time. Beth Shadone has served a dual role as both webmaster and also managing editor of Shore and Beach, our journal, and has done a fantastic job of that. For those of you that have been with ASBPA for a while, you know Kate and Ken Gooderham are the heartbeat of the organization. They're our managing directors and have do everything from send you out invoices to publish Coastal Voice to run the conference. And so they are just a little part of everything. And this year we were also very blessed to have Annie Mercer as a nearly full-time fellow. She's been working on a number of projects, and frankly, as we've moved to a virtual conference, she's helped us quite a bit in working on the technology side. And I wanted to share the staff because unfortunately this year we are saying goodbye to part of our heart and soul, and that's Kate Gooderham. This is she is going to be retiring at the end of the year, and so she has been the rock for ASBPA for nearly 20 years now. And so we are going to miss her tremendously, and it is just very unfortunate that we can't be in person and say our farewells to her. But for those of you that have known her, we do hope you will take the time in the next couple months to reach out and say thank you and say goodbye. I'm also very excited to share that we have replaced her to the extent that she can be replaced with a fabulous pair under the guise of Sea Haven Consulting. It's Brad and Leslie Pickle. For those that have been around ASBPA for a while, they might recall Brad had been on our board for a number of years, but has stepped away doing other work. But Brad and Leslie Pickle have a consulting team and help manage a couple other smaller nonprofits, but they will be stepping in as our managing directors starting in January. Ken Gooderham will still be with us at some level. He will be subcontracting to Brad and Leslie, and continuing to do some of the work he does on both sort of the back end of conferences as well as publishing Shore and Beach. But these are two phases that if you're involved with ASBPA, you'll get to know quite a bit in the coming years. And we're just thrilled and excited to have them. As sorry as we are to see Kate go, we are almost equally excited to have them join us. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Katie Bruchet, who is going to share our award recipients for the year.
Great, thanks, Derek. Good afternoon. My name is Katie Bruchet. I am the awards chair for the ASBPA National Coastal Conference. Before we get started on the organizational awards, I wanted to go ahead and give a shout out thank you to our award sponsor, the National Wildlife Federation. So the first award that we are giving today is the ASBPA Rising Star Award. If you can click to the next slide, Derek. This year's Rising Star is Eve Eisman. Eve is one of the co-chairs of the Student and New Professionals Committee, and in that role has really taken the group to the next level through engagements at conferences and also throughout the year. One such initiative is the effort to turn the Student and New Professional Committee into an actual official ASBPA chapter, which was actually voted on and approved today during the board meeting. She was also instrumental in the design and implementation of the Coastal Universities Guide, which you just saw the video for. And it's a map application, as Derek was explaining, that it illustrates all of the universities with coastal studies and available in their curriculums. So congratulations to Eve, and thanks for all you do, and thanks for all your hard work. Our next award is the ASBPA Unsung Hero Award. ASBPA's Unsung Hero this year is Beth Shadone. Beth is our managing editor for Shore and Beach, which means a lot of behind the scenes efforts to make sure it's a successful publication, including interfacing with all of the authors, copy editing the papers, and many other important details, which is no small feat. She also serves as our webmaster for the ASBPA website, working hard to keep all of our information up to date, including conferences, news stories, and other important information the organization needs to share. Even throughout all of this that I've listed here, Beth remains calm under pressure. So thanks so much, Beth, for all of your contributions to ASBPA, and congratulations on this well-deserved award. Next up is the ASBPA Member of the Year Award. This year's Member of the Year is Shannon Caniff. Shannon was an instrumental part of the team to create the Best Restored Shore Award, which Derek also previously mentioned, which is an important recognition for restored shorelines that experience low to moderate energy levels. She's an active and enthusiastic board member, and even after her retirement, and constantly gives her time to advocate for healthy and resilient beaches. So thank you, Shannon, for all of your hard work within the organization, and congratulations on this award. Next, we'll move on to our student awards. And so before we get started with these, I just wanted to thank the student scholarship sponsor, Manson Dredging. First up in the student awards is the Student Educational Award. This year's Student Educational Award winner is Jonathan Woodruff. Jonathan is a PhD student at NC State, and as part of his award, Jonathan will be receiving a $500 stipend. Be sure to catch his talk, Improving Predictions of Coastal Flooding via Submesh Corrections, in session 2A during the conference next week. And one fun fact about Jonathan is that his parents actually misspelled his name on purpose. So congrats to Jonathan. And then last but not least, we will be presenting the Nicholas Krause Coastal Scholar Award. Our newest Nicholas Krause Coastal Scholar is Jacqueline Turnbaugh. Jacqueline is a master's student at Texas A&M. As the Coastal Scholar, Jacqueline will be interning with the ASBPA's Science and Technology Committee and get a $600 stipend. And I think she's already started in that role, which is great. Jacqueline enjoys traveling and has been to 7 different countries. So congratulations to Jacqueline. So that's it for our annual meeting awards. We actually have more awards during the conference next week as well, during the plenary next Friday. So now I'll just go ahead and pass it on to Lee to discuss the conference details.
Thanks, Katie. I really appreciate it. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lee Wisher. I'm a vice president at ASBPA. I'm one of the 3 conference chairs. My co-chairs are Cesar Espinoza and Gordon Thompson. I want to just spend 1 second thanking all of the people that worked very, very hard in putting this conference together. It really, truly takes a village to do that. And I can't acknowledge one without acknowledging, 30 or 40 other people that all work together on that. So having said that, what we want to do is give you just a quick highlight of the conference. This year we have, being virtual, we have been able to put 4 plenary sessions together. Tuesday, our highlight is going to be the coastal resiliency in an industry perspective. Tony Bouchard, president of CDM Smith, is going to be presenting that. Wednesday, we're going to have a coronavirus and beach management panel, which is going to have panelists from around the coast talking about their challenges. And Thursday, we have a coastal STEM diversity panel, which I'm really excited about. It's going to be talking about women of color in coastal STEM and some of the issues and obstacles that they've had to overcome. And Friday, we're going to have forgotten stories from America's eroding shorelines. And I think that's going to be really great. We're also going to have talks by Representative Peter DeFazio and Senator Marco Rubio. So, and that's just the highlight. There's more talks in each of the plenary sessions. And so I think that you're going to enjoy those. I know I'm excited to hear and see those. But just a little bit about the conference itself. We have over 35 sessions with 130 presentations. Kate told me today that we had well over 400 people that are signed up for the conference. We have 40 posters and 30 exhibitors are going to be in our exhibit hall. All of these, or most of them, are going to be interactive. So even though some of the sessions are pre-recorded, at the end, the presenters and the poster people, you'll have an opportunity to interact with those. The topics are going to be wide ranging from coastal modeling, natural infrastructure, sea level rise, wetland restoration, coastal resiliency, and many, many more. And on your right, you see some of the login information that you're going to see. I know that you're going to get an email from Kate how to sign in and get into the conference. And the nice thing about this conference is that all the sessions are going to be recorded, and you'll have access to that, all of those sessions for up to 12 months after the conference. So that's one advantage of going all virtual. I know that I run around like crazy at a conference and jump from session to session. You can still do that in the virtual conference, but then you can also go back and look at the pre-recorded ones. Next slide. So we also, as part of the conference, are offering 2 short courses. It's not too late to sign up for those. They're going to be offered the week after the conference. And I've been working, I haven't been working on them, but I've been working with both the water quality and the coastal geology folks that are going to put these 2 courses on. Water quality is brand new, and I'm really excited about that. Also, the coastal geology has been expanded to look at coastal geology from around the different coasts and not just be East Coast centric. So that's really great. Next slide. And I'm excited to say that we had over the COVID summer, we had 2 new certified coastal practitioners, Eric Rosina and Brandon Hill. And so if you want to sign up for the CCC program, you can search for Coastal Zone Foundation, and you can go to the website. Also through the ASBPA website, you can sign up for the 2 short courses the week after the conference. And now I'd like to turn it over to Jack Coban, and hopefully I haven't gone too long, Derek.
Thanks. This is Jack Coban. For those of you who don't know me, I'm an engineer and a project manager with Fugro in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I also serve on the board of directors for the Central Gulf Coast chapter and have the privilege this year of being a co-chair for the ASBPA Coastal Summit alongside Lynette Cardock and Brian Caulfield. This year, as you can see from the picture here, it's going to be a virtual conference. We're planning on that, just with the understanding that COVID has given us some strict limitations on things we can do, but we definitely have some pretty good plans in mind already that we're working on as we speak. I think that one of the things we have to point out is that although we are not going to have the typical in-person meetings and some of the Hill visits that usually make the summit such a great event, there are some opportunities there for people who normally wouldn't be able to attend because there is a much less cost of travel or well, no cost of travel. So I think it opens the door to a lot of other people and presents some opportunities for us. Of course, as always, it's going to give us an opportunity to catch up on the latest legislation and scientific research around coastal science and coastal issues that affect the whole country. Here in Louisiana, of course, we see a lot of things here that are very coastal centric because we do have so much coastline and so much of our industry is based in the coastal zone. So it's something very important to us. And also, we get the opportunity to present ourselves as a voice for the coastal communities, not only here, but across the country and around the world. Looking here, this gives you some of the basic information for online registration, which will be coming up in December. So, be on the lookout for that. And then, of course, it takes a lot of people to put on something like this, and especially with the challenges of doing something that's fairly new to some of us still with the online format. If you're interested in volunteering, please contact myself or any of the other chairs or anyone else with the ASBPA board. We'd be happy to get you on board. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Gary Jones to finish up.
Thank you, Jack. Just quickly then to come back to you all with the results of the election. Thank you for casting your ballots this afternoon. 82 ballots were received and counted, and along with the proxies that we received previously from within the membership, I can confirm that both slates, the incumbent and the new candidates, have been elected to the board. So my congratulations to the candidates. Thank you. And back to Derek.
Thank you so much, Gary, and thanks to everyone for voting and sticking around through the full annual meeting. We're just about to wrap up, but as I said, we will have time for questions and comments, and we can extend this as long as folks want. I hope folks have been able to share some thoughts in the chat function, but we are just really appreciative of our members. We are a membership organization. We are, well, I showed you 6 staff on the page earlier. We are, most of us are, except for me, are part-time, and so we could not function without our volunteers. So really it is you, our members, who drive the organization, whether you're an officer on the board or you're participating in a conference and presenting your paper or hosting a poster. It's the work that you do that allows this organization to move forward. And well, and we hope you get more involved. So there's always a little bit more you can do, and we'd love to have you do a little bit more, whether that's participating in one of our committees that you've had the opportunity to add your name to, or as Jack said, helping volunteer for the summit planning effort next year. And then we are also very excited to be returning to New Orleans next fall. We all have our fingers crossed, as with the rest of the world, that we get a COVID vaccine and we're able to meet in person. But we are cautiously optimistic that we will be able to meet in person. It is possible we might be doing some sort of hybrid virtual online event, but we believe that perhaps nowhere else in the country is more exemplified by the need to be resilient than Louisiana, and so we need to be resilient, and we are going back to New Orleans. So certainly hope you can join us at the conference next week, but if not, please plan on joining us at the Coastal Summit in March online, and circle those dates for September and October 2021 to be in person in Louisiana. With that, I will post our final slide, which is just see you next week. Follow us on social media, and let us know if you have any questions. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I will open it up to any other panelists or see if we have any questions. I'm not seeing any questions, but I appreciate if anyone has any, you should be able to get a hold of us. All our information is on the website. But thank you so much for joining our annual meeting today, and thank you for voting, and thank you for helping make ASBPA the great organization that it is. Thanks so much, all.
Great job,